The pick is in for the Pittsburgh Steelers' final selection in round 3, the second day. With pick number 98, the Pittsburgh Steelers have selected inside linebacker Payton Wilson out of NC State. So, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they didn't have that big of a need at the inside linebacker position, but obviously, due to injuries they suffered last season, they felt it was a need to pick one early on in this year's draft. And that's who the Pittsburgh Steelers selected with this pick, an inside linebacker in Payton Wilson. Payton Wilson, when looking at him and his stature, he stands at 6'3" and 7/8 inches, and he weighs 233 pounds. His arm length being 30.5 inches, and his hand size being 9 inches. Looking at his accomplishments throughout his career, he was a Bednarik Award winner in 2023, and he was also ACC Defensive Player of the Year in 2023 as well. And what he projects at the next level is just an athletic, physical, second level effort kind of a guy whose instincts make him one of the premier linebackers in this draft class. Looking at his strengths and what he'll be able to bring to the football field for the Pittsburgh Steelers is his range. He's very athletic and flexible as well. He has comfortability in space. Playing in space for inside linebackers, he's a coverage type of guy. And also, he has really good hands. Sometimes the linebackers and defense players, when the ball hits your hands, it's not really a good sign because it's dropped. Many times, defense, usually say defense don't play offense because they can't catch. But Payton Wilson is really good with his hands and catching the ball. And he just has non-stop effort and kind of explosive play and just never gives up. Looking at the concerns, however, in Wilson's game is sometimes he's over-aggressive. But as I said, with our first round pick in the first round, Fatanu, you look at him and you would rather a guy be overly aggressive and have to kind of tone them down than them not be aggressive enough and tone them up. We always hear Mike Tomlin say he'd rather have aggressive play, and that's what we're going to get with Payton Wilson. So that could be a concern, but that is him. Play strength at the line of scrimmage in terms of coming down and making tackles and just being around the offense lineman, sometimes that's a concern in his game as well, and his long-term health because he has suffered some type of injuries throughout his career, so that's a concern. But just looking at Payton Wilson and what he does well on the film, he's one of the most kind of enjoyable guys at the inside linebacker in this class because he's a very athletic defender. He's a rangy type of player. He runs a 4.43 second 4-yard dash time and is able to go sideline to sideline with the best of them. So he works well with instincts and just a willingness to stick his face in the mud and pop off the screen. He's a leader within lungs of a defense, meaning that he's going to make every play possible for the defense and do his best to get the job done. Against the run, Wilson plays with an excellent kind of trigger to cut off rushing lanes, kind of cutting angles and making the right plays, and he's really never second to the football. He's usually always the first guy there. So he's not the cleanup guy, he's the person who's going to make the hits. He plays with outstanding leverage, and he's a former all-state wrestler. You see a theme here with the wrestling type of background. That's who the Steelers selected in round 2 with Zach Frazier, that wrestling background. And now they're getting another guy with a wrestling background in Payton Wilson. So he's extremely kind of open field tackler and really great in that area. And he will utilize a variety of different ways to get ball carriers to the ground. His motor never stops, and he runs as hot as any prospect in the class with multiple instances of chasing down plays. He's always someone who's never going to give up. Even if he has no chance of making a play, he thinks he has a chance. He's never going to give up on it and will chase you down. Also, looking at Wilson, how he plays as a blitzer, well, he actually has a really good skill set in terms of uses of his moves. He has an inside rip move and the flexibility to kind of bend his knees to be able to get around the edge if needed. Very rarely does he rush the passer, but obviously at the inside linebacker spot, you do have to blitz sometimes, and the Steelers like blitzing their inside linebackers. So he does have a couple moves he could use, and his flexibility is an advantage for him. The majority of his snaps have come inside the box, so Wilson can play outside the tight end in the fringe areas, and he's extremely comfortable in coverage. He has smooth hips when forced to flip and run versus running backs and tight ends, and his head always remains on a swivel to locate crossers when aligned as the Mike as well. His instincts have paved the way for ball production for him, and the reason why I'm saying he's the best coverage linebacker in this class is he has 7 interceptions throughout his college career at the inside linebacker spot. So that's really great production for him. The reason why I'm saying there's concerns in his game about his health is because you look at him and he tore his ACL in 2020 and his left shoulder, he tore that up in 2021. But obviously, those are a few years away. That happened a couple years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago. So at least he was able to get back on the football field. But obviously, just projecting his game, you just have to take into account the injuries and the medical aspect. But the Pittsburgh Steelers wouldn't draft him if they did not think his medical and his long-term health wouldn't be good. So you could kind of throw that out the window there. But he occasionally gets caught also, looking at the negatives, he gets caught in the wash after attempting to make a play. Sometimes his play strength against the run has room to improve because he doesn't sometimes showcase his heavy hands. He doesn't hit as well in terms of coming down and being a big hit stick type of player. He's more of the person, even though he's first there, he's kind of wrapping you up type of guy. Not someone who's just gonna lay the boom on you like an Elijah Roberts type of player for the Steelers. So the Pittsburgh Steelers overall, they're getting a Wilson who has a modern skill set in the NFL right now, and someone who you need to be able to play both the run and play the pass. He does both at a very high level, and he is a player who is athletic, and that's something the Pittsburgh Steelers need. We already have guys like Elijah Roberts to stop the run. We have Cole Holcomb, who's there to kind of do both, stop the run and play zone coverage, and he just comes off of an injury. We still have to see it and wait on him. That's probably the reason why they selected inside linebacker. Maybe there's concerns with Cole Holcomb. He still hasn't really started NFL activities yet. But we also just signed Patrick Queen this offseason to the biggest free agent contract in Steelers NFL history. So obviously, they like Payton Wilson enough to pick him in round 3 at number 98, and we should all expect some big things from him. They didn't pick him this early for no reason. They trust him, and he'll probably play. So that moves Mark Robinson down a spot as well in the depth chart, and probably less football time for him. But with that being said, that's a Pittsburgh Steelers selection in round 3, pick number 98 of this year's NFL draft. They pick Payton Wilson. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below about the selection. Is this a shocking move to you? Do you think they should have went somewhere else with the pick? Pick a different position, pick another guy. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And how do you feel that Payton Wilson will fit into this football team? Do you see him playing right away, or someone who's going to get lost in the depth at the linebacker position? As we all know, injuries happen. We went thin on the inside linebacker position late towards the end of last season with all the injuries. Kwon Alexander is still a free agent. So how do you feel about this selection? Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn notifications for everything Pittsburgh Steelers coverage throughout this NFL draft process. I already covered every selection that we did with introductions on the channel for them, so go check it out if you want to, with all of our selections up until this point. And I'll continue doing so with the players tomorrow being selected and all the undrafted guys as well. So turn notifications for this channel for every news update and like the video. I'll see you guys all later. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.